If I hadn't kissed her, maybe none of this would have happened. That's the line I keep replaying in my head, over and over like some broken record stuck in the worst moment of my life. And if you're listening to this, it's because you're either curious, or because, like me, you've made one mistake too many and you're wondering how far the fallout goes. Let me take you back to the beginning. My name's Eric, 37 years old, father of 2, and I've worked in luxury real estate for over a decade. I don't mean just upscale condos, I mean mega mansions, 10-car garages, infinity pools with views you only see in music videos. I've built a reputation on charm, trust, and sealing impossible deals. And up until a week ago, I had a solid marriage, a decent career, and a life I thought was, well, stable. Last Tuesday, my manager called me into her office just before lunch. She's a no-nonsense type, sharp bob haircut, glasses always slipping down her nose. She didn't smile often, so when she did, I paid attention. "Eric," she said, tapping a manicured nail on the folder in front of her, "you're getting the DeLuca property." I blinked. The one out in Ridge Hill. The one with the underground wine cellar and private tennis court. "That's the one," she said. "Private showing. High-profile buyer. You make this deal happen, and you're looking at the biggest commission we've ever paid." I can't lie, my heart was pounding. That sale would mean a 5-figure commission. Enough for a down payment on the new SUV I'd been eyeing, maybe even a weekend getaway with the family. That night, I told my wife, Melissa, about it while we were loading the dishwasher. She smiled and kissed my cheek, drying her hands with the towel slung over her shoulder. "I'm proud of you, babe," she said. "You've been working your butt off. Tomorrow's your day." It was moments like that, those quiet, easy domestic exchanges, that always reminded me how lucky I was. Melissa and I had been together for 9 years, married for 7. 2 kids. A golden retriever named Ollie. A life we built from scratch. So why did I ruin it? The next morning, I was up early, ironed my best navy suit, polished my brown leather shoes, even put a dab of cologne behind each ear. I needed to look sharp. This wasn't some 2-bedroom condo for a newlywed couple. This was the showing. When I pulled up to the DeLuca estate, I took a deep breath. The mansion was every bit as majestic as I remembered, stone facade, arched windows, manicured hedges lining the long driveway. But none of that prepared me for her. She stepped out of a matte black Porsche like a movie star. Maybe mid-30s, tall, flowing brunette hair, wearing a short ivory dress that hugged her like it was tailored yesterday. Her perfume hit me a second later, expensive, delicate, something floral with a hint of spice. She extended a hand, smiling like she already knew the ending to a story I hadn't even begun telling. "I'm Vanessa," she said. "I hear you're the best." I smiled, tried to keep it professional, but my throat was suddenly dry. "Eric. And I don't like to brag, but I don't lose deals." She laughed. A soft, flirtatious laugh that hung in the air longer than it should have. The tour began normally enough. Living room, home theater, chef's kitchen, infinity pool overlooking the hills. But every compliment she gave felt a little more personal. "You have a nice voice," she said while we stood by the grand piano in the music room. "I bet you work out," she teased as we stepped into the gym. By the time we reached the upstairs master suite, I wasn't just flattered, I was charmed. And when she walked a little too close, fingers grazing my arm as I pointed to the rainfall shower, something shifted. "I like you," she whispered, stepping into my space. "Vanessa," I started, but my voice trailed off. Then she kissed me. It was quick at first, just a taste, but before I could gather a single rational thought, we were pressed against the wall, hands everywhere. My suit jacket hit the floor. I didn't stop her. I didn't stop me. And afterward, after the storm had passed, I just sat there on the edge of the bed, sweating, silent, stunned. She was humming in the bathroom, rinsing off in the shower like this was all some casual afternoon event. When she came out wrapped in a towel, she smiled and said, "I'll take the house. And you did a great job today, Eric." Then she tossed me a wink. I left with my shirt half tucked and my mind in 1,000 pieces. The whole drive home, I rehearsed what I'd say to Melissa. Should I tell her? Should I confess everything and hope for mercy? But as I walked through the front door and saw her in the kitchen, cooking dinner with our daughter coloring at the table, I knew I couldn't do it. I told her the deal went through. That the client loved the place. That the paperwork was underway. Her face lit up like a kid on Christmas morning. That's amazing. We have to celebrate. Let's go to Marlowe's. Marlowe's. Our favorite little restaurant. Cozy booths. Warm lighting. We hadn't been there in months. I said yes, pretending everything was fine, while my guilt sat like a rock in my chest. An hour later, we were seated at a booth in the back, toasting with glasses of wine. Melissa looked beautiful, wearing the blue dress I'd bought her 2 anniversaries ago. I almost forgot the weight I was carrying, almost. Until she walked in. Vanessa. And this time, she wasn't in a short dress or heels, she was in a sleek black gown, the kind you wear when you own the place. She walked straight over to our table, holding a bottle of aged whiskey in one hand. "There's my favorite realtor," she said, smiling too widely. "You did an amazing job today." She turned to Melissa, extending the bottle like a peace offering. "You've got yourself a real winner here. Honestly, I've never had such a satisfying experience buying a home." Melissa stared at her, confused. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" Vanessa leaned in just slightly. "Oh, we've spent some quality time today. Ask your husband." That's when it happened. Melissa's face fell. Completely drained of color. Her eyes locked with mine, searching, pleading, and I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. She stood up abruptly, grabbing her purse, and walked out. Fast. Too fast. I followed her out into the parking lot, calling her name, but she was already in the car. The engine roared, and then she was gone. I stood there, frozen, with Vanessa's perfume still in my nose and a bottle of whiskey in my hand. Melissa turned off her phone. She didn't come home that night. Or the next morning. And now. I have to find her. I have to fix this. But I don't even know where to start. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. The house felt like a hollow shell without Melissa in it. I kept expecting to hear her car pull into the driveway, to hear the front door creak open, or to feel the bed shift with her weight beside me. But there was nothing. Just the soft whirring of the ceiling fan and the sharp sound of my own guilt. Her phone stayed off. That was the part that scared me the most. Melissa wasn't the kind of person to just disappear. Even if she was furious. Even if she was devastated. We'd had fights before, some big, some small, but she never just went radio silent. I sat at the kitchen table until sunrise, staring at the screen of my phone, hoping, begging, for a message. A missed call. Anything. Nothing came. Around 6:45 a.m., our daughter Ava came down the stairs, rubbing her eyes. "Where's Mom?" she asked, still half asleep, her favorite stuffed bunny tucked under her arm. I cleared my throat, trying to sound normal. She went to stay with Aunt Rachel last night. She wasn't feeling well. But she'll be back soon." A lie. One of many, I now realized. Ava nodded and shuffled into the kitchen. I fixed her a bowl of cereal, pretending everything was fine, while my mind was racing. I sent Melissa another text. "Please talk to me. I'm so sorry. We can figure this out." Still nothing. By 10 a.m., I drove to her sister Rachel's house. I knocked. Rachel opened the door, arms crossed, expression cold. "She's not here," she said flatly. I swallowed. "Has she called you? Do you know where she went?" Rachel leaned against the doorframe and shook her head. "She called me from a private number last night. Said not to tell you anything. Said she needed space." My heart sank. "Did she say anything else?" Rachel hesitated. "She cried. A lot. Then she said, 'I should have known. I should have listened to my gut years ago.' And then she hung up." I stood there in silence. That line stuck with me, "I should have listened to my gut." Had Melissa been doubting me all along? Had I been missing signs that she was holding things in, burying her suspicions beneath our routine? Rachel stepped outside and closed the door behind her. Her voice softened. Eric. I don't know what you did, but whatever it was, it broke her. I nodded slowly, my voice cracking. I messed up. I messed up bad. Back at work, things weren't much better. The DeLuca sale went through, my biggest commission yet, but I couldn't celebrate it. Vanessa even left me a voicemail. Eric, you were amazing. The house, the night, it was unforgettable. I hope we can stay in touch. I deleted the message immediately. And yet, the guilt didn't disappear with it. Every compliment, every dollar, every signature on the dotted line, it all felt poisoned now. Tainted. Around noon, my manager congratulated me in front of the office. Applause. High fives. Someone even popped a bottle of champagne. I smiled. I nodded. I thanked everyone. But all I could think about was Melissa, where she was sleeping, what she was thinking, and whether she'd ever come back. That night, I sat on our bed and looked through my phone again. I scrolled through our texts from months ago. Pictures of our family at the beach. Voice memos of Ava singing off-key in the car. A video Melissa had sent me in April, her laughing, holding a spatula, dancing while cooking breakfast. I broke down. I'm not a man who cries easily. But I cried that night. Not just because I was ashamed of what I'd done, but because I realized just how much I stood to lose. This wasn't some high school breakup. This was my life. My wife. My kids. My home. And it was all slipping away. The next day, I got a call, from a number I didn't recognize. Hello. It was Melissa. Her voice was cold, distant. I'm at my mom's. I nearly collapsed with relief. Thank God. Melissa, please, just let me talk. I know what I did was. I don't want to hear excuses, she cut in. I just wanted you to know where I am. The kids are fine. You can see them this weekend. But I need time. Melissa, I love you. I was stupid. She interrupted again. Stop. I'm not ready to hear any of that. You broke something, Eric. Something I don't know if I can fix. Then the line went dead. The rest of the week was a blur. I tried to keep things normal for Ava and Ben, our son, who was too young to understand what was going on. I kept working. Kept showing homes. But every interaction felt robotic. By Saturday, I had a visitation window. Rachel brought the kids to the house. Melissa didn't come. Ava was quiet. She clung to me tighter than usual, and when I asked her how school was, she looked down and whispered, "Mommy cried a lot." I hugged her tighter, forcing a smile. "It's going to be okay, sweetheart. I promise." But I didn't know if that was true. That night, after the kids were asleep, I drove to Melissa's mom's house. Her car was in the driveway. I sat outside for almost 15 minutes, debating whether to knock. Finally, I walked up and rang the doorbell. Melissa opened it herself. She looked tired. Her eyes were puffy. She had on an old hoodie and leggings. She looked like someone who'd been grieving something real. "What are you doing here?" she asked. I needed to see you. To say I'm sorry. To tell you I regret it every second." She leaned against the doorframe, folding her arms. "You lied to me. You kissed another woman. Slept with her. Then came home and let me celebrate you. I know. I was caught up in the moment. I didn't think. It was a stupid, selfish." "You didn't think," she snapped. "Eric, this wasn't just a slip. You let it happen. You chose it." I didn't argue. I had no defense. "I can't look at you the same way," she continued. "Every time I close my eyes, I see her touching you. Smiling at me like she won some contest." I took a deep breath. "Let me make it right. Please. Whatever it takes." She hesitated. "I'm not making any promises. Right now, I don't even know who I'm married to." Then, just before she closed the door, she said something that sent a chill down my spine. "She didn't just show up at that restaurant by accident, Eric. That woman wanted me to know. And just like that, the door closed. And I was left with a new thought. Was this really just an affair, or something more? I stood there long after the door closed, staring at the porch light casting a yellow glow across Melissa's face etched in my memory. But it was her final words that haunted me most. She didn't just show up at that restaurant by accident. That woman wanted me to know. Vanessa didn't just happen to be there. She didn't randomly decide to waltz over and hand me a bottle of whiskey in front of my wife. She planned it. But why? It was a question that lingered with me all night and clawed at my brain the next morning. Something about the whole thing didn't add up. I made a mistake, yes. But now I was starting to wonder if that mistake was part of someone else's plan. The following Monday, I called the office to say I'd be working from home. I needed space, not just from the team celebrating my big win, but from the whole environment that brought me to this point. And I had a new mission now: find out who Vanessa really was. I started simple. I opened up the buyer's documents from the sale. Her full name was listed as Vanessa Grayson. That sounded familiar, but I couldn't place it. The listed phone number and email matched the ones we'd used during the home tour, and the address was, well, my listing now. The house was hers. So I Googled her. Nothing jumped out at first, no LinkedIn profile, no major news articles. Just a couple of social media accounts with barely any activity. One Instagram page with 2 pictures, one of the house, and one of a glass of champagne beside a pool. Too curated. Too controlled. Like someone who wanted to be seen, but only on their terms. I tried digging into property records, nothing unusual. She paid in full. No mortgage. That alone was impressive, but also unusual. Not many buyers walk in and pay millions in cash for a luxury estate after one showing. And then I remembered what she said that day, just before the kiss. I like you. You seem honest. Real. Now it felt manipulative. Scripted. Like she'd said that to other men before me. I drove to the Rich Hill property later that afternoon. I told myself I just wanted to check on the keys and make sure everything was in order for the move-in. But the truth? I wanted to see her. Face to face. I needed to know what she was really after. When I pulled into the driveway, her Porsche was already parked out front. I knocked on the door, and after a long minute, she opened it. She was wearing a silk robe, holding a steaming cup of tea, and smiling like she expected me. Well, well, she said, leaning against the door. Back so soon? I need to talk, I said. Can I come in? She stepped aside, and I walked into the grand foyer. The house was spotless. Like a showroom. No boxes. No personal items. No signs of anyone actually living there. You moved in fast, I said, glancing around. I move fast in general, she replied, sipping her tea. Keeps life exciting. I turned to face her. You showed up at the restaurant on purpose. That wasn't coincidence. She raised a perfectly sculpted brow. You think so? I know so. Why? She took another sip and walked slowly to the kitchen. Because I don't like secrets. And I especially don't like men who think they can lie to their wives and walk away clean. Her tone had changed. It was subtle, but I caught it. I stepped closer. So what was this? A trap? Some game? She looked at me, really looked, and something flickered in her eyes. Call it a lesson. I stared at her, stunned. You did all this to teach me a lesson. She smiled. You're not the first married man I've met who can't resist temptation. But you might be the easiest. I took a step back, heart pounding. So this is what you do. You target guys like me. She didn't answer. Just turned back to her tea, swirling it slowly. Was the whole sale fake too? Were you ever really going to buy this place? Oh, I bought it, she said calmly. That part's real. I always get what I want. But why me? She set her cup down. Because your name was on a list. I froze. What list? She smiled again, but this time it wasn't seductive. It was cold. Calculated. You should probably go home, Eric. I turned and walked out, heart racing. My hands were shaking as I got back in the car. A list. What list? And why was I on it? That night, I called a friend from the office, Tyler. He was in our IT department, but we'd known each other for years. Hey man, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Do we keep logs of client interactions? Like, who's assigned to what listings, or how clients are matched to agents? Yeah, he replied. Why? I hesitated. Can you check if someone requested me specifically for the DeLuca property? There was a pause. That's unusual, but, yeah, gimme a sec. I waited, pacing the living room. A minute later, he came back. Dude, you're not gonna believe this, he said. Vanessa Grayson called in 3 weeks ago. She asked specifically for you. Said she'd read your bio online, liked your style. Said if she was buying something big, she wanted you. My blood turned to ice. 3 weeks. But I only got the showing last week. Yeah. That's the weird part. The lead got routed to Michelle first. But then it was reassigned to you. Manually. My manager. She rerouted the lead. And now it was clear, this wasn't just about a sale. Someone wanted me to be with Vanessa. Someone wanted me to fall. I hung up with Tyler and sat in silence. My mind was spinning. Who would set me up like this? Who would benefit from destroying my marriage? I thought about work. About who might envy me. I had a solid client base. I was climbing the ranks. Some people thought I was too smooth, too confident. Maybe even too lucky. But to sabotage me like this. I picked up my phone and dialed my manager, Michelle. Hey Eric, she said casually. Everything okay? I need to ask you something, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. Why did you reassign the DeLuca client to me? There was a pause. She requested you. No, she requested the company. You assigned her to me. After she asked for someone else. Another pause. You've always said you wanted bigger deals, she said slowly. I thought you'd be perfect for this one. Or maybe you knew exactly what would happen. She sighed. Eric, you're unraveling. Go take a vacation. Get your head on straight. She hung up. Now I knew 2 things for sure. 1, Vanessa didn't just appear out of nowhere. And 2, someone at work, maybe Michelle, wanted this to happen. My mistake had been real. But now I had to wonder. Was the betrayal mine alone? You ever have that moment when you realize, maybe you're not the only one who messed up? I spent the next few days in a strange fog. My mind was torn between guilt and suspicion, shame and anger. I had betrayed Melissa, I wasn't running from that. But now the weight of it all felt heavier because I wasn't sure how much of it had really been mine. And even worse, maybe I was the last person to see the truth. On Thursday afternoon, while the kids were napping at Rachel's place, Melissa sent me a text. Meet me at Lincoln Park. 5 p.m. Just talk. My fingers trembled as I typed, I'll be there. I arrived 20 minutes early. I walked up and down the path behind the pond, rehearsing what I'd say. Should I beg? Should I explain the setup? Or would that just sound like I was dodging responsibility? When she finally showed up, wearing jeans, a plain sweatshirt, and her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, I almost didn't recognize her. Not because she looked different, but because she looked worn. Like someone who'd carried pain too long and had stopped pretending everything was fine. She didn't say a word at first. Just sat on the bench by the water and stared straight ahead. I sat next to her, a few inches of cold air between us. After a minute, she finally spoke. I knew something was wrong the moment she walked up to us at the restaurant, she said quietly. She didn't just thank you, she marked you. Claimed you, right in front of me. I nodded slowly. I didn't expect her to show up. That's the part that scares me, she whispered. Because she expected you not to. I turned to her. Melissa. I know there's no excuse for what I did. I got caught up in it. I let it happen. But it wasn't random. Someone put her in my path. I don't care who put her there, she snapped, suddenly turning toward me. You had a choice. Don't make this about anyone else. She was right. I did have a choice. I'm not deflecting. I swear I'm not. Something about her didn't sit right. Even from the beginning. She told me I was on a list. And then I found out she specifically requested me weeks before the showing. Michelle, my manager, reassigned her to me. And now I don't know what's real and what was planned. Melissa shook her head. So what? You were set up to cheat. No, I said softly. But maybe someone knew I would. She went silent again. And that silence cut deeper than yelling. We sat there for a while, watching the sun dip below the trees. She finally spoke again. I want to tell you something, and I need you to listen. No interrupting. I nodded. She took a long breath. 2 weeks ago, before the DeLuca showing, I got a message from someone. A woman. She didn't say her name. Just that she knew what you were about to do. I froze. What? She sent screenshots. A picture of you in the office parking lot. Another of you getting coffee with a woman I didn't recognize. That was Vanessa, I whispered. Melissa nodded. Probably. But I didn't confront you then because I didn't want to believe it. I thought maybe it was a prank, or a misunderstanding. I was planning to ask you about it after the dinner. But then she showed up first. I felt sick. Why didn't you tell me? Because I wanted to trust you, she said, her voice trembling. And the moment I decided to trust you, you betrayed me. I buried my face in my hands. Melissa, this goes deeper than I thought. Someone wanted to destroy us. And I let them. She looked at me for a long moment. Why you? Why would anyone go to all this trouble? I shook my head. I don't know. But I'm going to find out. That night, I called Tyler again. Hey, I need another favor, I said. He sounded groggy. Man, it's almost midnight. Do you still have access to the office call logs? I need to know who passed that client lead to Michelle. Who logged the request? He groaned but agreed to check. 10 minutes later, he called back. You're not gonna like this, he said. What? Before Vanessa ever contacted the office, someone submitted her name through our internal referral system. My stomach dropped. What? Who? He hesitated. It was logged under Michael Turner. Michael. My colleague. The guy I used to mentor. The same guy who got passed over for the DeLuca deal. I sat down hard on the edge of the couch. He put her in the system. Yeah. Submitted her name, said she was a friend of a friend. The note said she wanted a high-end property and preferred working with a handsome, high-performing agent. My mouth went dry. He fed her to me. On purpose. I ended the call and sat in the dark, heart racing. Michael had motive. He'd always been ambitious. But I never thought he'd do something this twisted. The next day, I went to the office. I waited in the parking garage until I saw him pull in. When he stepped out of his Audi, briefcase in hand, I walked up to him. We need to talk, I said. He flinched, then tried to smile. Eric. Heard about the sale. Congrats. Cut the crap. You sent Vanessa. He blinked. What? You put her in the system. Referred her. You gave her to Michelle and made sure I'd be the one to take the bait. He looked around nervously. You're paranoid. She told me I was on a list. That someone wanted this to happen. And then I find out you submitted her name. He stared at me, jaw tight. Why, Michael? I asked. What did I ever do to you? He shrugged slowly. You always got the best clients. The big deals. The spotlight. You were the golden boy. And I was tired of it. So you set me up to destroy my marriage? His voice was low now. You destroyed your marriage the second you kissed her. All I did was give you the chance. That line hit me like a punch to the gut. He walked past me. You made the choice, Eric. Own it. I stood there, shaking, as he disappeared into the elevator. Later that evening, I drove to Melissa's mom's house again. This time, I brought something with me, a folder full of printed emails, call logs, and screenshots. Everything I had gathered. When Melissa opened the door, I didn't ask to come in. I just handed her the folder. "What's this?" she asked, confused. "Proof," I said. "Of the setup. Of the people behind it. Michael. Michelle. Vanessa. All of it." She stared at me, then opened the folder and began to read. I watched her eyes move across the page. I saw her face shift, shock, anger, disbelief. After a few minutes, she looked up. "You kept digging." "I had to. I wanted to understand how it happened. And I wanted you to know, it wasn't just lust or stupidity. Someone wanted this to happen." She looked at me hard. "That doesn't change what you did." "I know. But maybe it explains why someone tried so hard to tear us apart." She didn't say anything. But she didn't close the door this time. Melissa didn't invite me inside that night. But she didn't shut the door in my face, either. That thin space between us, her on the porch with the folder clutched in her hands, me on the front steps trying not to shake, felt heavier than the wall that had grown between us since the night Vanessa ruined everything. "I'll read it all," she finally said. "But I'm not promising anything." "I'm not asking for promises," I said quietly. "Just a chance to show you that I'm not the only one who wanted this to fall apart." She nodded. Then closed the door gently. Not slammed, just shut. Carefully. Intentionally. It was the first moment in weeks that didn't feel like a complete ending. The next morning, I got a call from Tyler again. "I did some more digging," he said. "Michael's been referring clients under fake aliases for months. Vanessa wasn't the first." "What do you mean?" "I mean this guy's been playing puppet master. Feeding clients into the system to other agents he knows will screw up, or get flustered, or cross some line. Why would he do that? Maybe to eliminate the competition. Or maybe just for fun." Tyler sent over a list of referral entries. At least 3 of them were tied to agents who'd either been fired or demoted in the last year. Suddenly, it all made sense. Michael wasn't just trying to sabotage me, he was doing it to others, too. Quietly. Strategically. I forwarded everything to HR, attached with a note, "Internal sabotage, urgent investigation required." Then I closed my laptop. I wasn't about to let someone else clean up the mess. I needed to face Michael again. This time, not as a victim. As someone who was finally ready to take control. I showed up at the office unannounced. Michael was in the break room, sipping his designer coffee like he hadn't just orchestrated the implosion of my life. He looked up when I walked in. "Thought you were working remote now," he said with a smirk. "I sent everything to HR," I said plainly. "Every referral you've rigged. Every setup. Vanessa. The other fake clients. It's all documented." His smirk faded. "You think they'll believe you?" "I don't think." "I know." Tyler backed it up with call logs. "You're done, Michael." He stood up fast, knocking over his coffee. "You think you're better than me? That you deserve everything you've got?" "No," I said calmly. "But I didn't try to burn down people's lives to get ahead." He stared at me for a second, then laughed bitterly. "You were always so easy to manipulate. One pretty girl and you threw your marriage into a ditch." "I made a mistake," I admitted. "But I'm not going to let you profit from it." That was the last thing I said before walking out. As I reached the elevator, I heard shouting from the conference room. HR had moved fast. By the next day, Michael was suspended pending a formal investigation. It didn't bring Melissa back. But it was something. Later that week, Melissa texted again. "I read everything. Can we talk again?" No kids this time. We met at the same park. She wore sunglasses this time, even though it was cloudy. I wasn't sure if that was to hide her eyes, or her emotions. She held the folder in her lap. "I believe you," she said. Relief swept through me, but it was short-lived. "But believing you doesn't erase what you did." You still let it happen. You still lied to me. I know, I said. And I don't expect you to forget. Or even forgive. But I need you to know I've changed. I am changing. She stared at the pond. You know what hurts most, she whispered. Not the kiss. Not even the rest of it. It's that you didn't come home and tell me. You came home, and let me celebrate you. I swallowed hard. I was scared. You should have been honest. I'm trying now. She turned to me, tears in her eyes. It's too late for that version of us. Silence. Then she added, but maybe, we can find a different version. One that starts with truth. We started couples therapy the following week. It was awkward at first. Painful. We sat across from each other like strangers with too much history between them and not enough glue to put anything back together. But slowly, the walls cracked. We talked about more than just Vanessa. We talked about years of small emotional distance. Late nights at work. Her feeling alone. Me feeling like I had to carry everything. All the invisible weight between us that neither of us ever said out loud. There were tears. Shouting, sometimes. Awkward silences. But there were also moments, quiet, honest moments, where I saw pieces of us again. The way she looked at me when I admitted I hated who I'd become. The way I saw her nod, ever so slightly, when I said I still wanted our family. One evening, after a long session, she stayed in the driveway for a while. Then she came inside. Just to get a few things, she said. But she stayed for dinner. About 2 weeks later, after I'd tucked Ava into bed, I came downstairs and found Melissa in the living room. She was holding a small wooden box. The one we used to keep letters in, birthday cards, notes from vacations, silly scribbles from the early days of our relationship. I forgot this was here, she said. She opened it and pulled out an old note I'd written her before we got married. It said, "No matter what life throws at us, I'll be here. For you. Always." She looked at me with tears welling in her eyes. "Were you lying then?" "No," I said. "But I broke that promise." She nodded slowly. "You did. But, maybe promises can be rewritten." Then she stood up and said the words I hadn't expected. "Come sleep on the couch." That night, as I lay in the living room listening to the quiet hum of our home, I knew we weren't fixed. We weren't healed. But we weren't finished, either. The next morning, I got another message. Not from Melissa. Not from the office. It was a private number. One line of text. "You think this is over?" No name. No context. And in that moment, I realized something else. There was still one person I hadn't confronted. Vanessa. The message haunted me. "You think this is over?" No signature. No context. But I didn't need one. I knew exactly who it was from. Vanessa. She'd been quiet since the restaurant incident. No calls, no texts, no emails. I had convinced myself she'd moved on to her next target or vanished into whatever life she lived when she wasn't breaking marriages for sport. But this message, it meant she was still watching. Still invested. And that meant one thing. This wasn't random. It never was. I had to confront her. Not to shout, not to accuse. I needed answers. Real ones. About who she was, what she wanted from me, and why. The Ridge Hill house still looked vacant. The grass was neatly trimmed. Lights were off. Curtains drawn. A fresh luxury SUV sat in the driveway, but it hadn't moved in days. Something about it all felt too clean. Too still. I rang the doorbell. Nothing. Knocked. Harder this time. Still nothing. So I did something bold. I used the spare lockbox key from the agent's set still registered to my name. Technically, I wasn't supposed to have it anymore. But no one had told me to return it, and I hadn't even thought about it until now. I let myself in. Carefully. Quietly. "Vanessa." I called out. My voice echoed in the empty space. "It's Eric." Nothing. The air inside smelled faintly of the same perfume she wore that day. Jasmine, with something sweet and artificial beneath it. Like roses covering up something rotting underneath. I stepped through the entryway, past the sweeping staircase. The house was immaculate. But weirdly unlived in. No pictures. No books. No laptop cords, no dishes in the sink. Not even a remote on the coffee table. Just one thing sat on the marble island in the kitchen. A manila folder. My name was written on it in black ink. I hesitated. Then opened it. Inside were printed photos. Screenshots. Pages of text messages. It was my life, laid out like evidence in a trial. One picture was of me dropping my kids off at school. Another of Melissa and me in line at a grocery store. Then one of me sitting in my car outside the office, exhausted and oblivious. There was also a document, printed emails from years ago. From someone named Lindsay Barrett. That name stopped me cold. It took a second to register, but then it hit me like a punch to the chest. Lindsay Barrett. I'd known her 10 years ago. She was an intern at a real estate firm I worked at before this one. She'd shadowed me during showings. Young, eager, always asking questions. I was newly married back then. Melissa had just given birth to Ava. And Lindsay, she had a crush. I knew it. Everyone knew it. But I never acted on it. Never gave her more than polite conversation. In fact, I remember going to my boss at the time and asking her to be reassigned because the attention made me uncomfortable. I hadn't thought about her in years. And now. It all made sense. Vanessa wasn't Vanessa. She was Lindsay. I stood there, stunned, flipping through the folder again. This was personal. Targeted. Not a random sabotage, not some coworker's office revenge. She'd been watching me. 4 years. Suddenly, a voice behind me. I was wondering how long it would take you to figure it out. I turned sharply. There she was. Standing at the top of the stairs. Not in a robe this time. Jeans, sneakers, a black tank top. Hair tied back. I guess I should be flattered, I said quietly. You went to a lot of trouble. She smiled, calm, casual. Took you long enough to show up. You changed your name. Faked everything. Why? She came down the stairs, one step at a time. Because you humiliated me. You humiliated a 23-year-old girl who just wanted to feel seen. I didn't humiliate you, Lindsay. I was married. You were too close. I asked for space. You had everything, she snapped. The job. The house. The wife. The kids. The perfect life. And you treated me like a child with a crush. Like I didn't matter. Because I couldn't let it go further, I said, my voice rising. I did the right thing. And you stalked me. You infiltrated my family. She walked into the kitchen, poured herself a glass of wine. And yet here we are. You targeted me. You got me reassigned that listing. You seduced me. You ruined my marriage. No, she said calmly. You ruined your marriage. I just gave you the opportunity. I couldn't breathe. My heart was racing. I wanted to scream. To shake her. But I couldn't even move. You planned the restaurant too, didn't you? I asked. She sipped her wine. I own it now. Bought it under a shell LLC last year. Thought it would be poetic. You're insane. No, she said, setting the glass down. I'm patient. I backed away, slowly, my voice low. Why are you doing this now? She looked at me with a strange sadness in her eyes. Because I needed to know that you weren't better than me. That you could fall. That you would fall. I took a shaky breath. And what now? You ruined my life, then what? Move on to the next guy. She didn't answer. Just looked away. I came here to say I'm done. Whatever this is, it's over. She looked back at me, suddenly softer. You know what the worst part is, Eric? I thought maybe, just maybe, after everything, you'd still choose me. I stared at her, stunned. You thought I'd stay with you? I thought if Melissa left, maybe you'd see me differently. Maybe I'd finally be enough. I shook my head. You were never in my life. You created this version of yourself, Vanessa, the fantasy. But that wasn't real. None of it was. A tear slid down her cheek, but she quickly wiped it away. I hope you find peace, I said quietly. But it won't be with me. I walked to the door. My hands were still shaking. Before I left, I turned back one last time. You didn't just hurt me. You hurt my family. My kids. And for what? Some fantasy you made up 10 years ago. She didn't respond. Just stared at me. Still, quiet. Empty. I closed the door behind me. And for the first time in weeks, I exhaled. Later that night, Melissa called. How did it go? She asked. She's not well, I said. Her name's not Vanessa. It's Lindsay Barrett. From my old firm. She's been planning this for years. Melissa didn't say anything at first. Then, was there more? Yes, I said, honestly. She thought, maybe I'd stay with her. A pause. And what did you say? I told her I wanted my life back. Melissa exhaled softly. You can come home. If you want. But it's going to take time. Trust comes slow. I'll earn it. Every day. That night, I packed a bag. For the first time since this nightmare started, I was going home. But I also knew something else. Some damage never fully disappears. Some ghosts don't stay gone. And Lindsay, whatever name she used, was still out there. Coming home wasn't a triumphant return. It was quiet. Awkward. Hesitant. Like stepping into a house that used to be yours but had forgotten your scent. Melissa had moved a few things. Ava's drawings were off the fridge, my jackets were in the guest closet, and the bed, well, it was still only made on one side. She left the door unlocked the night I came back. I let myself in quietly. My suitcase wheels barely made a sound as I rolled them over the hardwood floors I'd once polished every Sunday afternoon. She was in the kitchen, barefoot in sweatpants, sipping tea. When she saw me, she didn't smile. But she didn't look away either. You can take the guest room, she said softly. I nodded. That was our beginning again. The days that followed were slow. Filled with small efforts. I made breakfast every morning, even if she didn't always eat with me. I helped with the kids' homework, handled drop-offs, even fixed that leaky sink she'd asked me to take care of 2 months ago. I didn't try to reclaim anything. Not the bed. Not the way she used to look at me. I was just trying to be present, to show her that I didn't want the old version of us, I wanted to build something new. Ava took to me quickly again. She was too young to fully grasp what had happened, just old enough to know things had been off. Jack, though, he was quieter. Every now and then, he'd look at me with a stare that felt older than his years. Like he was studying me, trying to decide if I was still his hero or just another man who broke a promise. I'd be lying if I said that didn't get me. One night, about a week after I returned, Melissa and I sat outside in the backyard. The kids were asleep. The porch light buzzed quietly overhead. She was wrapped in a blanket, holding a mug of tea again. I was nursing the bottle of whiskey Lindsay, had handed me at the restaurant. I should have poured this out, I muttered, watching the amber liquid swirl in the glass. Melissa didn't respond at first. Then she said, "You're not the only one who's been keeping things." I looked over. Her expression was unreadable. She took a breath. I spoke to someone too, after that night. I froze. A man, she continued. Someone I used to talk to. Before the kids. We reconnected on Facebook a while back. Just chatting at first. Nothing serious. I swallowed hard. Melissa. No, she interrupted. Nothing happened. I swear. But the truth is, I was lonely. For a long time. Before you cheated, before the sale. You were gone all the time. Even when you were home, your mind was somewhere else. Work. Sales. Phones. I started feeling invisible. I didn't speak. I just listened. She set her tea down. I'm not excusing what you did. But I want you to know. I wasn't perfect either. I let resentment build. I didn't say what I needed. I waited for you to read my mind, and when you didn't, I shut down. There was something freeing about hearing that. Not because it lessened what I had done, but because it reminded me that our marriage hadn't been perfect. It had been fragile. And neither of us protected it the way we should have. She looked over at me. We both broke this. So if we're going to fix it, we both have to do the work. I nodded. I want to. Me too, she whispered. And then, for the first time in weeks, she reached for my hand. A month passed. The guest room started to feel less like a punishment and more like a rite of passage. Every morning, Melissa and I exchanged more words. Smiles returned, slowly. The kids were laughing again. We were laughing again. We even went on a family picnic one weekend, just us and the kids, eating sandwiches on a blanket like we hadn't just crawled out of a personal war zone. That's when I started to believe we'd make it. Until I got the letter. It arrived in an unmarked envelope. No return address. Just my name. Inside, a single sheet of paper. No handwriting. Just printed words in a familiar typeface. You think you chose to come back? You didn't. You only came home because I let you. There was no signature. But I didn't need one. Lindsay. She was still watching. Still playing her game. The door I thought I had slammed shut, she'd wedged her foot in before it could close. I didn't tell Melissa right away. I didn't want to set us back. But I took the letter to a private investigator. It wasn't paranoia anymore, it was caution. She's not letting go, I told him. She spent years planning this. I need to know if she's still following me. Watching my kids. My wife. He nodded. We'll find out. 2 weeks later, he called. Found something, he said. She's been renting a unit across town. Under the name Elena Marks. Another alias. And get this, she hasn't lived there alone. There's a second name on the lease. Michael Turner. My blood ran cold. Michael. My ex-colleague. The one who fed Lindsay my name. The one who said I wasn't special. She and Michael knew each other. More than that, the investigator said. We think they were working together from the start. It hit me like a freight train. This hadn't just been a personal obsession. It was a partnership. A coordinated attack. Michael wanted my job. Lindsay wanted my life. And together, they nearly got both. I took the report home and showed Melissa everything. She read in silence, then looked at me with fire in her eyes. They messed with the wrong people. We can press charges, I said. For harassment, cyberstalking, defamation, maybe more. Do it, she said. I called our lawyer that night. The lawsuit was filed within the week. We never heard back from Lindsay or Michael directly. But through the legal channels, we learned they'd both left the state. The private investigator said they'd packed up in the middle of the night and disappeared. Good riddance. Still, every time I walk past the Ridge Hill house, I get chills. That beautiful estate, the one that could have bought me a new car and a bigger title, almost cost me everything I truly valued. I never went back inside. Some doors don't deserve to be opened again. A few months later, Melissa moved my clothes back into our bedroom. Not because everything was perfect. But because we were finally strong enough to rebuild together. We started counseling again, this time as a couple, not two individuals trying to survive. And one night, as we lay in bed, she whispered, "I'm proud of you. For owning your part. For not giving up." I turned to her, gently touched her face, and said, "Thank you for letting me come home. We're not perfect. We never will be. But we're honest now. We talk. We listen. We love each other in the open, not behind emotional walls." And sometimes, that's more than enough. Because forgiveness isn't a finish line. It's a choice we make, every single day.